Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's head-to-head comparison, let's take a look at the 2025 Nissan Murano Platinum and the 2025 BMW X1 xDrive 28i. I borrowed the BMW from Hendrick BMW Northlake, so take a look at their website down in the description, along with the full detailed reviews for both of these SUVs. Now let's start off with the MSRPs. For the Nissan Murano, these start at $40,400 versus $40,950 for the BMW. And in today's review, the Nissan is at $51,500, the BMW is at $52,000. So they are nearly identical in their MSRPs. But let's move on to what powers both of these. For the Murano, this has a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It's paired to the 9-speed automatic. It pumps out 241 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. The BMW also has a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, paired to a 7-speed, however, pumps out 241 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Both of these SUVs feature the all-wheel drive system. We have a curb weight of 3,700 pounds for the BMW versus 4,400 pounds for the Nissan, so it weighs significantly more. We have a 0 to 60 time of 5.4 seconds for the BMW versus 6.5 for the Nissan. And then as far as fuel economy goes, you're looking at 24 and 33 for the BMW, 21 and 27 for the Nissan. Now, as we work our way to the exterior styling, we have much different vehicles. You'll notice too that the Murano sits much higher, so the hood line is much higher than this BMW. Now, the BMW has the kidney grille, forward-facing camera with the sensor above that, all the parking sensors, and then a lot of cutouts in that lower section, along with LEDs for the headlights, which, as you can tell, they are much slimmer over on the Nissan. We have almost that Range Rover vibe with how thin those headlight housings are. Now, this model also has a forward-facing camera, all of these sensors, the sensor in the middle for that distance pacing, and then we have a little bit more bodywork on both sides versus having the trim accents in the lower section of the BMW. And then a little bit more lines coming down the hood on the BMW versus the Nissan, but you can tell this has a much wider vibe to it than the BMW. Definitely much smaller looking for the X1. Now, as we work our way to the side, we have different wheel options, of course, so just depending on how you'd like to spec them. For the BMW, this has the M Sport brakes too, so you do get a little bit more performance with the BMW. Now, both of these have power folding side mirrors. You'll notice there's the camera and the turn signal, same with on the BMW. Full moonroof up top with the gloss black roof racks, and then we have the full moonroof up top, no roof racks for this model here. As we take a step back, this is where you can really see how much larger the Murano is than the BMW. And we have much different lines, a little bit more flowing shape with the Nissan versus a little bit more boxy and edgy with the BMW. As we work our way to the back, there's the body colored spoiler with the brake light. Wiper blade is tucked up underneath, so that way it gives it a seamless look. There's LEDs that run throughout the entire liftgate there, along with the backup camera. Parking sensors are down below. And then in order to gain access, just push that button within the Nissan badge and the entire liftgate will open up, where you have a good bit of space. Now, you also have pockets on both sides, and then underneath the floor, if I lift this up, you can gain access to the spare tire, where you also have a little bit more space if you'd like to place in any items there. Now, you can also fold down the back seat, so you can do that from here. So just pull on those tabs, and that will give you a lot more interior space for any items that you would like to place in the back. Now, as we work our way to the BMW, you'll notice that the spoiler is a little bit different. We have a much shorter window in the back too, and the wiper blade is in the lower section there. Now, the LEDs have the split design, so they don't go all the way through. There's the backup camera, all the sensors, and then we have the hidden button underneath. So just push on that button and the liftgate will open up. Now, we have a smaller vehicle here, but you have still a good bit of space. There is also storage underneath the floor. No spare for the BMW, but you can place in a lot of items still for its sizing. Now, you can't fold the back seats down from back here, so you do have to go around and do that, but regardless, they fold down to give you more storage when needed. Now, as we work our way back to the Nissan, we don't have any proximity door handle here, so you do have to unlock it from up front or from the key fob. Now, this model has sunshades that are manual adjusting. The interiors are going to vary just depending on how you'd like to spec them, but we have the window control, the release there. We can easily push the seat back up, where at 5'10", it's not all that bad in the back. Now we have one storage pocket on that passenger side. You get heated seats, the vents and auxiliaries. I do have a good bit of space down below, and then I have about 1.5 inches or so of headroom in these back seats here. So they're very nice and comfortable. You do get the armrest in the middle, along with cup holders and a little bit of storage. And then we have the 60-40 split. So this middle seat does not fold down individually. Here's a look at visibility. You have a little bit of a pillar there, but you have the windows on both sides there, which look to give you plenty of visibility all around. Now, as we work our way to the BMW, you'll notice that we have the flush mounted door handles. We do not have proximity sensors for this either. So we do have to unlock it from either the key fob or from inside like you just saw. Now we have the window control, the release. Interior, of course, is much different for this model. And then we have the controls down below that you can pull on in order to fold these seats down. Now in the back, we have no storage pockets behind up front. We get the vents, auxiliaries, storage down below, no heated seats for the back here, but headroom is probably about the same, 1.5 inches or 2, and you can recline these seats just to get a little bit more comfortable. Right in the middle, we have the armrest with cup holders. And then here's a look at visibility, where you have a much larger window there, maybe same amount of space there, but you have large windows on both sides where you can see around. Now, as we work our way up front, since I have the full detailed reviews, let's just highlight some key features. So there's the memory seating adjustments, power folding side mirrors, liftgate, and storage down below. And then you get the automatic seats with the one manual support for the leg extension there. And then a really nice design for the seats in general. Now this has a solid leather steering wheel. Start button is down below. There's also the paddle shifters, all of the cruise control settings. You have shortcuts on the right side where you can further go through all this information. So let's take a look at the gauge cluster real quick, where you can go through your content here and you can scroll through a good bit. So just depending on what you would like to see. There's also the layout too, and then the last one is for the head-up display. So you can go through a little bit of information there. Now you have your headlight adjustments, there's one air vent, and then we have the infotainment system where you can go through quite a lot. Now the screen actually curves a little bit towards the driver here, and remember that when we hop into the Nissan. So it's very easy to see and operate from the driver's seat. We get heated seats and a heated steering wheel for this model. There's also some shortcuts over on that left side there too. Now this model has wireless charging. There's also auxiliaries down below, lots of storage underneath, which is neat to see. And then you do have a few configurations you can go through within the driving settings and your modes. So you have different driving modes here, and all the interior ambient lighting will change accordingly. Now this also has the 360 camera system, and we do have the parallel parking feature, which is nice to see. So you have all of these views just depending on how you need to see around the vehicle. And then you do have a little bit of space in the armrest, along within the glove box. And then up top, there's garage door buttons and your adjustments for the sunshade and sunroof. And then here's a look at visibility over both shoulders, where it's very easy to see for the smaller size that this is. You can see around the back of the pillars there very nicely. Now, as we work our way to the Nissan, this has memory seating adjustments too, power folding side mirrors, and then some storage down below. You'll notice that the liftgate release is actually to the left of the steering wheel, where we have a heated steering wheel control, steering assist, auto hold, and the e-brake. Now, the Murano also has massaging seats too, so you can use that function. And then we have a much different seat, of course, and we have a much different steering wheel with just being the single spoke here, so we don't have any top or bottom. Now, as we start this up, we have the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. This model also has the power adjusting telescoping steering wheel versus manual on the BMW. Now there's all the cruise control settings. You get pretty much all the same controls as far as volume goes, and you do have these controls here to go through the gauge cluster here. So we can go through all of this, where you have a little bit that you can scroll through, various settings to get into, And that's about it. So not quite as configurable, but it still gives you the information that you would like to see. So you have a good size for the screen. There is a head-up display, and the only adjustment that you have is turning it on and off to show your miles per hour. I'm assuming that when you have the distance pacing on and all, that will show up as well. Now on this left side, there's also one air vent. And then we do have a continuous screen. However, it's actually angled towards the passenger, which I find a little bit interesting from the driver's seat, but obviously if you have a passenger, they can see it. So it's curved much differently than in the BMW. But we have shortcuts on this left side here, where you can get into all of this information. You even have the Google Assistance, so it's hearing me right there. But you can pull up these icons here and go through all this information. Kind of similar, just a little bit different of a view. And then we have controls in the lower section where you can get through all of this information, including the heated seats, heated steering wheel that you can monitor. Now you have volume in the middle. You have this panel here where you just simply touch it, and that's how you can adjust all of that information. You get wireless charging too. Few different driving modes. There's ambient lighting, but it won't change with those either. And then we have a much different layout for the shifter. So just push on the buttons in order to pull up this information, and you can bring up some of these angles here, just depending on what you'd like to see. You do have the 360 as well. So fairly similar, just a little bit different in the graphics. It is much clearer in the BMW. You have a front camera mode there, a little bit of storage. You get a lot more storage in the armrest here. And then plenty of storage in the glove box. Up top, you have garage door buttons. You do get a sunglass holder, which is nice. And then you have controls for the sunshade and the sunroof. And then you have a lot of visibility over both shoulders. So with the exteriors and interiors wrapped up for the Nissan Murano and the BMW X1, let's get both of these out on the road and see how they drive. And behind the wheel now for the Nissan Murano, sport mode second gear, here we go. Definitely has a good bit of power to it. The paddle shifters are pretty responsive too, which is nice, but this has a much different seating position. We have the windows on both sides just to give you a little bit of extra visibility, and you kind of sit a little bit higher up, which is interesting to see. But we do have the height adjustment on the seat if you feel like you need to lower it some, but you definitely have a good outlook. Now I have been driving this particular model for a few days now, and I think this is very nice. I get to drive a lot of other luxury brands a lot more than Nissan, so it's nice to be able to compare it, especially for a similar price, what this Nissan has to offer. It definitely gives you a really nice feel like you are in a luxury brand. Now, it rides fairly similar. I will say the luxury brands are going to be a little bit more refined feeling, but for the last couple days driving this around, it doesn't seem like it's that much more when you can get into a brand like Nissan as well. So it's very interesting to see how far I think Nissan has come to compete with some of the other luxury brands that are available. But super nice. It's a little bit larger too, so if you're looking for a little bit bigger of a vehicle, this is definitely going to check those boxes without being overly large, but it definitely has a much wider feel to it, especially from the inside too. And behind the wheel now for the X1 second gear, here we go. And we're up to speed with a mild acceleration. It's definitely pretty peppy. Has an adequate amount of power for this type of vehicle. But behind the wheel for the X1, we have a really nice layout, really well refined too. Even with a truck passing there, you really can't hear the traffic. So it's definitely insulated too to give you that luxury vibe. The drive is nice. We have a good seating position too, where you can see most of the hood. We have the height adjustable seat too, so if you need to adjust it further, you can. But it's a great vehicle to drive. We do have a normal suspension, so there's no modes with the suspension. We do have the different driving modes for your acceleration, but the suspension definitely has a great ride to it. And for its smaller size, you can fit in a lot of items. So it's a good packaging if you're looking for a smaller size vehicle. You want that luxury, you want some refinements, and you have a lot of different options that you can go with, just depending on how you would like to spec your X1. So it's a great option. you can go with the M35i if you want even more power. So back from our test drive now with the BMW X1 and the Nissan Murano. I know those were quick test drives, but you can take a look at the full detailed reviews for more driving impressions. These aren't truly direct competitors, but for their pricing, I figured this would be a great comparison to make if you wanted to get a Nissan, or you can get into a luxury brand like BMW. Now, with that being said, the Nissan does have a nice ride to it. We have some nice materials to give you that luxury vibe, but you are going to have a little bit of a next step up with the BMW in terms of the ride quality and just the overall materials in general. But it's very interesting to see that even a brand like Nissan, not to say anything bad about Nissan, but the BMW is definitely more of a luxury focused brand than Nissan in general. It's crazy to see that we have two vehicles nearly the same cost. Which model would you rather have? The Murano is going to be a little bit larger versus the BMW. So if space is a factor for you for the same pricing, you can get a little bit larger of a vehicle with the Murano. Both of these are very nice vehicles. I've been able to drive the Murano for a couple of days. I've been in the BMWs. I own an X5 myself. They're both very nice vehicles. So it really just depends on which one you like better, the features that you like, and just the options that you can go with. The BMW is going to be a little bit more sporty feeling, a little bit more nimble since it is a smaller vehicle and it is a little bit quicker too. So comment down below, for the same price, would you rather own a BMW or would you rather have the Nissan? If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.